Like many of my classmates, I walked into the kindergarten classroom of Lovey Sherman 13 years ago with my holographic Godzilla backpack, anxious parents, and a feeling of excitement previously unmatched in my 5 years of life. It was here that I met fellow salutatorian Wesley Kiyohara, or as I knew him back then, that kid who knows his times tables.
I remember Aaron as the walking dictionary, spelling difficult words such as red and apple. However, before we could become close friends, I transferred to Washington Elementary, where I met Chen. I sat next to Hua and quickly identified her as competition. Little did I know, this competition would last over the next 10 years, as we have shared almost every class since.
I knew Wesley as the boy with the short hair. I always felt intimidated by his ability to solve difficult math problems and his knowledge of state capitals. I remember our first chess game in a class tournament. 4 moves after it started, he checked me. But afterwards, he helped me learn what mistakes I made. This supportive relationship continued through elementary school as we bonded over the game. I first met Aaron at Eastmont when I heard him recite a clever rhyme about the mystery surrounding a mermaid's tail. He quickly became the witty boy with the awesome ability to compose inappropriate songs. Although we never became more than acquaintances in middle school, I always heard about the famous Aaron Aceves.
In 5th grade, I remember meeting Hua and seeing her and Wesley take the long journey across the hall every day to their algebra class, thinking, those are 2 of the smartest people I'll ever meet. We all had the good fortune to spend 4 years in middle school as part of the Eastmont band. I played clarinet and later bass clarinet.
I played oboe for about a week before switching to trombone.
And I joined band as a percussionist, a role that few girls took. I was a drummer, and I loved every minute I spent with the bass drums, snare drums, and timpani. Through band field trips to Disneyland and the LA County Fair, the 3 of us were part of a musical bond, which started with hot cross buns in beginning band and led us to Taco Mambo of high school.
After surviving band preseason, Hua and I were the youngest in our AP Calculus class. I will never forget receiving my first negative comments on a report card. Apparently, I was a disruptive influence in class. But this valuable exposure to upperclassmen allowed us to mature through their example.
I remember freshman year walking through a crowded hallway and hearing a girl talk about 2 freshmen in calculus. When I heard her say that, I thought, those were 2 of the smartest people I ever met. We didn't begin competing until our sophomore year, when our AP chemistry teacher would compare my 4th period class to the magnificent 2nd period class containing Wesley Kiyohara and Hua. Their success pushed me to try to stand out.
In junior year, Hua and I were the only 11th graders in AP statistics. When the time came for the exam, I studied for hours on end. When I entered the routine mode of panic, I couldn't help but be disturbed by Hua's nonchalant demeanor. My AP results were satisfactory, but compared to Hua, I didn't measure up. The blow of being beaten was worsened by the fact that Aaron received perfect 5s. However, after the initial discouragement, their perfect scores were a humbling reminder that we all have room for improvement.
During CSF elections, Aaron displayed his humorous personality through a flip chart speech. It was then that I realized his vital role in my life. We all have an Aaron in our group, a funny and carefree friend who is always the stress reliever for tense situations.
Senior year, our main focus was getting into college. It was a moment we were all waiting for, when all of our hard work would finally pay off. At least that's what it was supposed to be. Luckily, our friendship survived the onslaught of acceptances and rejections. But it's funny how the most memorable events in high school aren't the times we received perfect scores or when we got into colleges. My best memories were those with my friends, whether it was staying out well past our curfew, falling asleep at each other's houses, or having allergic reactions to their pets. I'll always remember my friends. John for never saying no to giving me a ride to school, Veronica for being my favorite editor-in-chief and prom date, Michelle for always inviting me into her home, Serena for reminding me that school isn't everything, and Wesley and Hua. When I see them now, I think, those are my friends, practically my family. Hua reminds me of my elder sister, Ashley, fiercely independent, intelligent, and funny. And I've known Wesley for 13 years, and I find I have more in common with him every day.
I also have my friends to thank for supporting me through my most stressful times. Their help prevented me from crashing and burning under the pressure of challenging classes and project deadlines. Even when I broke my toe 2 weeks ago, they were there, holding my hand as I limped from X building to the top of C building. But while all of their support has been invaluable, my family has always been there for me, and I have my mom and my brother Corey to thank for my successes and accomplishments. I know that my mom is probably sitting in the audience, listening to my speech in English, but not understanding my words. She has driven me hundreds of miles and helped me cope with all of the struggles that come with being a teenager. I would now like to express my appreciation in words that she can understand. Ma, thank you.
And of course, I have to thank my family. My mother for everything. Car rides, hugs when I was sad, words of advice that I ignored and later realized were true. My father for never thinking any goal was too high, and my siblings for teaching me about life outside school. And all of the other family members who said, just call me if you need anything. I don't know what anything means, but I'm sure it includes a brand new car.
I would like to thank my mother for her support and reminder since kindergarten, and never letting me be satisfied with less than my best. My father for being a breathing example of success, and always reminding me that talent is nothing without hard work. My eldest sister Nicole for being an academic role model, as she was also a salutatorian of her class. And my other sister Jamie for reminding me there is more to life than just school, and being a second mother to me. As a class, we seniors have a strong attachment to friends and family. For many of us, the greatest aspect of high school was being able to see our friends and share memories with them, whether through sports, clubs, or other activities. While we are excited to graduate and move on to newer and better things, many of us are saddened by the prospect of life without our friends every day. The connections we made with the people who will never leave our side give us confidence we need to venture out into the world and leave the gates of Schurr High School and march into the new world.
We will keep the beat begun in the heart given us in our families, and to it add the rap, pop, and samba of our individuality.
We won't always play the right notes, but it'll sound right in the end.
We will do much more than just get by,
with more than a little help from our friends. Thank you.
Dr. Seuss once said, "You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the one who will decide where to go." But learning this was a process. My name was announced as Jeannie Wang. That's what it says on my ID card, and that's what it says on my birth certificate. But who am I? I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a girl who has dreams. We all think we know who we are and who we once were, but we can never predict who we will become. We judge people by their appearance and outward actions, but sometimes we identify people and place them into categories just too quickly. It's hard to stop judging others, but it's even harder to stop judging ourselves. I like to call elementary school the dark years, because those were the days when fitting in just seemed so cool. It's strange, because most of the time, people think elementary school students are the innocent ones. But I think it's in elementary school where kids learn that conforming is the only way to make friends. I mean, nobody wants to be the only kid not in the sandbox or the only kid not playing tetherball. If I had to identify myself back in my elementary school days, I would be the secretly mischievous kid who acted like I was quiet and innocent. Back then, my equally mischievous sister had taught me that I had to climb every tree I saw and write my initials on every tree I climbed. I don't think any of my elementary school friends knew that about me at the time. By high school, some identities were so strongly formed that it was hard to identify, those I've known for a long time in a different manner. Some identities are created early on. There's some people who I will always know as intellectuals, and some people who I knew would become star athletes the moment I met them in elementary school. And sometimes, people keep the identities that they create for themselves early in their lives, but most of the time, I think they create new ones. In high school, I found an identity for myself that I never expected to find. I became an inquisitor. I don't know how this happened, but I do know that it began in my sophomore year in my AP chemistry class. It was there that I discovered new challenges and new fascinations. The mysterious world of science began opening up to me, and I found a new passion for a subject that once seemed only interesting when Bill Nye did an experiment on TV. My identity as a science inquisitor was only one of many I found in high school, and is one that I will keep in college as well. I think it's strange how movies portray high school as that horrible time in your life when anybody not in sports or who acted strange was stuffed into a locker. In my opinion, high school was a time when I learned that it's okay to be yourself because your friends will always accept you. There will always be cliques, and I'm still guilty of stereotyping. But what I love about high school is that there are so many different cliques and groups that there isn't one big group to which we are forced to conform. Instead, we choose who we want to be and find friends who accept us that way. And once we choose who our friends are and what organizations and groups to join, we create identities for ourselves. Unlike those with which we are born, these identities are chosen by us. But what happens after today? What happens when all those identities that took 4 or more years to create become unknown to a new world outside of high school? Some people might try to create new identities for themselves, and some might try to reestablish their old ones. But in the end, no matter how people identify us, what's most important is how we identify ourselves. If we've reached a stage where we're comfortable with being ourselves, then we found the right identity. If we look at ourselves and see that we're not happy with our identity, then something's wrong. It might be a signal that it's time to reveal our true identities or to learn to accept them. Some of us will have the opportunity to find new identities once high school is over. Some of us are satisfied with our identities and will keep them. But that doesn't mean we have to stop finding identities to add to our existing ones. I don't know who I'll become when I attend college, but how could I? That world is still waiting to be discovered, and I'm just the inquisitor to do it. I thank everyone who's made me what I am today. I thank my family for teaching me the value of hard work and to never take things for granted. I would also like to thank my teachers and all my friends who accepted me and always pushed me to try harder. Honestly, I still don't know how to ultimately identify myself. To some, I'm a penguin lover, a cheese hater, a journalist, a runner, a pole vaulter, or a musician. But to myself, I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a girl who has dreams. Even though I don't need to find those identities, many more are out there still waiting for all of us to find. Thank you.